Yo, yo, yo. Hey, look at that. I'm not there today. Let's go to this one.
Okay. This is why the host can't come in 2 seconds.
I promise I'm here today, guys. I promise you. We're having some technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll get those worked out in just a minute. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and introduce you to Yoshi. What's going on?
Oh, just, another Monday.
Yeah. I just happened to look up on the screen. You guys don't get the joke, but it says like Rich Masucci, and there's just blue there today. So that's probably good. Nobody wants to see my ass. That's for sure.
Well, either do we if you're going to be showing your ass. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Oh, there I am. You lucky people, you get to see me again. Oh man, it's been a crazy morning, Yosh. It has been a crazy, crazy morning.
I believe you.
You know how you have those mornings where you're just like, everything is just like against you, no matter what you do.
Yep.
I just had one of those. So I came out to the car and I'm like, I'm already running a little bit late. Whoops, no gas in the car. Got to go to the gas station. You get to the gas station and all the pumps, there's people at all the pumps, but they haven't pulled up to the next one,
Oh, of course not.
So there's 4 free pumps, but you can't get to them.
But you can't get to them.
Right. And so, after like waiting for about 5 minutes, I'm like, these people going to move? Are they going to move? Just about to try to go around them, all of a sudden one of them moves. So I pull into that spot. I swipe my card. I'm like, yeah, all right.
Wrong side.
No, actually, what ends up happening is the pump wasn't taking credit cards. And it says, go inside. I'm like, oh, my God. I go inside, and, of course, there's a line a mile long. You know what it's from? There's one guy up there buying like 950,000 scratch offs.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's the worst.
Yeah.
I think I always get behind those people.
Yeah.
And it'd be like they're turning in their lottery tickets.
Yeah.
And then they'll get there, finally pick out all the ones they want to get.
Yes.
And then, okay, well, now I've got my envelope of numbers I need to play this week.
People that are trying to retire off the lottery.
And it's usually like one at a time. I think I'll have 2 more win for lives. Okay. And then they sit there and scratch them in front of you. And as soon as they're done scratching, maybe just 1 more of those win for lives. Like, get out of my way. Just please go.
Or what am I up to now? Okay. Okay. So give me 16 of the number ones. Okay, now what am I up to? They're $1.
What am I up to? You're up to about 85 years old. You probably don't have a lot of time left on the stairs. Get out of the way.
If there was ever a reason for a kiosk, the lottery is it.
Oh, my God. Hands down, man. Hands down. Scott, I got to introduce you. What's up, man?
I just had a plate of Riggies, and it was awesome.
Yes.
So I am ready to go. I'm loaded with Riggies. I'm feeling good now.
I've been looking at the Riggies. I haven't had a chance to dive in. It's going to be about a 20-minute show because I want to get to the Riggies quick.
Well, for you, they threw in some hot dogs, too.
Oh, perfect. 10-minute show. Actually, we got to thank our guy over here, Travis, man, shooting in here and delivering the food. He sent me the text message this morning, and it was him like cooking. That's designed for cooking. Like he's a witch with a kettle. Yeah, man, he was cooking at like 9 o'clock this morning for us. So good on you, man. Thank you so much.
And for those who just wanted to remember from when we were doing the podcast last year, Travis was one of our panelists.
Yeah. Travis has actually been along for the ride for 2 years.
That's right.
Yep.
Right.
He started the show with us, and then he realized he's got to get away from this bunch of weirdos and.
We're bad influences.
Bunch of nerds talking hockey.
He's like, I like you guys, just not really that much.
But it's funny because he's sitting over behind the curtains, like I was just telling Yosh. It's kind of like the dating game. Remember that?
Contestant number 1.
Travis is behind curtain 1.
If I was a musical instrument, how would you play me? Yeah. It's so foolish. Oh, my God. So we had a pretty good day of hockey yesterday. I'll be very honest. I know that this weekend everything got a little overshadowed with the football games going on. Can't help with the playoffs and everybody's like balls deep in that. But the games yesterday, man, not too bad.
No,
not too bad. Had some good stuff happen, and
actually been kind of a quite eventful week, really.
Yeah, it really was, and that's kind of shocking because we were talking about right before the All-Star break, everything kind of they just phone it in. Maybe not so much, man. Just looking, we were talking about it a little earlier. Ray Sherrill
Goodbye.
got the axe. Yeah, man. How do you feel about that?
It's weird. Because normally GMs don't get fired in the middle of the season.
Right.
Normally.
Before the All-Star break.
And it was just like nobody saw it coming either, right? So all of a sudden, Tom Fitzgerald is handed the reins as the interim GM, which to me is screaming, Devils, you have no direction. Zero.
Yeah.
Because if you're only going to make Fitzgerald the interim GM, you got to start preparing for the draft now.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And the Devils are going to end up with a lottery pick. Mm-hmm. So, to me, they're going to have to either decide Fitzgerald's their guy soon, or they're going to have to go out and find somebody and give them the reins, because it's not like, you can fire your GM, right before the draft and say, okay, here's a list, pick one.
Right.
It doesn't work. Well, some teams do, and that's why they're the way they are. But if you're going to be successful, you really got to be able to digest the whole thing. And not to mention, you got to start thinking ahead. Okay, who do I want to trade to get what back to prepare for this draft as far as picks and whatnot?
Yeah.
And you got to start molding your team of what direction you want to take. Okay, do we want to be a fast team? Do we want to be a physical team? Do we want to be a defensive team? And that all plays into it too. So to do that mid-season and to just kind of throw the interim tag on somebody, I mean, you see it happen all the time with coaches. And it's a little easier to do that with coaches because sometimes you just need that shake-up, right? And maybe a new voice in the room and a new system or a new style to be brought in. Okay, you roll the dice. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the GM isn't in the room.
Yeah,
he's up in the rafters, right? Up in the press box or in the nice suites, actually. It's not the press box. But your GM really is determining the direction of your team. So I don't know if maybe this is just a panic move by the Devils saying, geez, we did all these supposedly great things in the offseason, and then it all blew up in our faces. Now what?
Could be.
Ray
Sherrill, I mean, obviously we know he's a wheeler and a dealer.
Yeah.
Right before the trade deadline, he's always making big moves. He did when he was with the Penguins.
Right.
The only thing I can think of is they must have pulled the plug and went, before you go and cash in the team here, let's pump the brakes. Get rid of this guy. That's all I can imagine. But
it's not like they've got a ton left to trade after they got rid of Taylor Hall.
No, you're right.
Because you're not going to trade Nico Hischier. You're not going to trade Jack Hughes.
No. But you know what they did do yesterday, the Devils? They stopped the 10-game win streak for the Lightning. So.
You know who else they beat, too, this weekend? The Capitals.
Who knew? Who knew that, all of a sudden, they're coming around?
That's why you could never figure out hockey, ever.
Not at all.
Nope.
What else happened? Soros got his first shutout of the season as the Preds knocked off the Jets 1-0. So he's got, 8 shutouts of her career, I think so.
Yeah, but you know what, though? He has been very wildly inconsistent this year.
Yeah.
And that was the guy that the Preds were hoping was going to eventually take the reins from Pekka Rinne.
Yeah.
Because Rinne is 37, I believe. And he does have that hip injury history and all that. And so they were hoping to maybe almost do like a split between Saros and Rinne this year. Well, it hasn't really worked out that way because Saros has been wildly inconsistent. However, he was a brick wall against the Jets Sunday. So is it the start of a turnaround for him? Maybe. It's going to have to be for the Preds, I can tell you that.
Yeah. No.
But we'll see.
And Jonathan Huberdeau got a goal and assist, and now is the all-time points leader for the Florida Panthers. 420 points he's got, and passing Ole Jokinen. So,
loving having him on my fantasy team.
Is he on your team?
Yeah, he is.
You made big moves this week.
No, I actually ended up tying.
Oh, it was last week you made big moves.
Yeah.
I just know that all of a sudden.
Yeah, because you dropped Jeff Carter, and I just jumped all over that.
Yeah. Just
in time for him to go on a nice big cold streak. So, yeah.
I saw it coming, man.
Yeah. You were Puckstradamus.
I got to tell you, man, I took those 2 weeks when we were doing the benefit. I took it totally off. I'm like, I'm not paying attention to anything. Dropped a couple players in there, and I got to tell you what, man. Went from 1 to 5 in that league.
Yeah, it kind of cost you.
I got crushed last week.
Did you?
Yeah, my sister absolutely destroyed me.
Housed you?
Housed me. The scoring in ESPN, you go by what categories you win and lose. So we have 12 categories. I was 110-1.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think I'm going to get destroyed this week because I'm playing a guy who's got 5 Rangers. And the Rangers are on that ideal fantasy schedule where they're playing tonight, which is usually with fantasy hockey, the 3 big nights are Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Yep. That's when most teams play. And if you can get teams that are playing on a Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, that's gravy, right? So this week, the Rangers are playing tonight, they're playing Thursday, and they're playing Sunday. So he's going to have 10 games in hand on me as far as, actual minutes to be used because they're all on the odd days. So you don't have to worry about, well, I got 12 players playing and I only got 10 spots. So somebody's got to sit. He's like in a situation where nobody sits this week because he's like loaded with games. I'm like, great. Well,
and the thing, like having, as long as you don't have any Rangers goalies on your team, you're in a good spot.
I know, right?
That team cannot seem to stop scoring this year, and it's all over the map too. I mean, obviously Panarin, who is now, I think he got the most points in the shortest amount of times of any Ranger.
Well, he's making Ryan Strome look like an all-star, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's making Strome look like an all-star.
What do you think about the Lindgren situation? I had to laugh at that. That was actually funny. I forgot who it was he hit. Who was it? Oh, Donskoy.
Donskoy, yeah.
Jonas Donskoy took him out, and he ended up getting fined for that by the league.
No other discipline on it.
No, it was kind of like the borderline headshot and all that.
Yep.
And then Nazem Kadri took exception to it and beat the crap out of him.
Oh, yeah.
Within like a minute of the hit, he just came over, and that was the end of it. So I think the league actually just felt sorry for him. They're like, well, we got to do something, and normally you'd get suspended. But
since
Kadri landed about 12 shots to your face, we're only going to fine you, okay?
Oh, my Lord.
And speaking of all that, before we get going, I know we're on a time schedule and all that. Did you guys see what happened with Kassian and Tkachuk? Zach Kassian? It was over the weekend. It was the Oilers and the Flames.
Oh, the
turtle.
Turtling, yes.
As a Kings fan, I watch a lot of Pacific Division games. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you something. Matt Tkachuk got everything he deserved because he is so famous for taking that cheap shot. He replaced Corey Perry in the Pacific Division as far as being the sneaky cheap shot artist guy. Yes. So I don't blame Zach Kassian one bit for going off on him. He's probably going to get suspended because he's got a hearing today.
But it's today?
It's today. But you know what? Good on you, Zach Kassian. And honestly, I think hockey needs more of that.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to sit there and take cheap shots and do all that. Well, guess what? You pay the price.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know there's this big debate on Twitter right now where people on one side are, we got to have this goonery out of the game. What Zach Kassian did was unacceptable. He could have hurt him. Well, no kidding. But you know what? Tkachuk could also hurt people with all these cheap shots that he's taken.
Yep.
And then when somebody's going to come over and confront you about it, to just turtle up, please. I mean, he's not the first one that's ever done that, but I mean, it's kind of like the long list of, like the Esa Tikkanens, Ken Linsmans. Claude Lemieux was famous for that too.
He was.
Remember him?
Listen, I just like that word, goonery.
Yeah.
Goonery.
I'm going to say that all day.
It's the word of the day now. Yeah. It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Every time somebody says goonery,
as soon as they say goonery, I go over and eat some Riggies over there.
Goonery.
Yeah. NHL Network.
That's going to be the end of it right there. They're going to be eating Riggies on NHL tonight. You watch.
Riggies and talk about goonery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy your Riggies, EJ Raddick.
Yeah, Raddick. Oh, my God. So, jumping back into our regular conversation we were planning on here, I was looking at the standings yesterday, and you know what I noticed is that the two top teams in the NHL right now are St. Louis and the Boston Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
Tied for 65 points. Washington's in there too, but I think they're third. Anyways, two top teams, obviously last year's Stanley Cup contenders here. And I started thinking about it. My memory's failing as I get older and older and older. But how many times has that happened, do you think, over the years, that the two teams that went to the Stanley Cup, by the time they get midseason the next season, are they number 1 and 2 like that?
Geez, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened before.
Yeah. I mean, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, we haven't had a repeat of the, like a rematch in the Stanley Cup since 2008, 2009, Detroit and Pittsburgh. And before that, it was Edmonton and the Islanders in 3 and 84.
Yep.
Right.
So it obviously doesn't happen that often. But I was wondering, I mean, what do you guys think? What's the chances these two teams could make it back to the Cup? And, and if they do, what would we see?
Well, I will tell you that if one of them wins the President's Trophy, that's not going to happen.
They're doomed. Yeah,
I can tell you that. And I will say that St. Louis has an easier road than Boston does, because right now that Eastern Conference is extremely competitive up top, And St. Louis has really kind of separated themselves in the Western Conference from everybody else. There's St. Louis right here, and then you have the other 7 possible playoff contenders. Well, there's actually about 10. They're all in that group, and they're all kind of bunched together right now.
Right.
And there's really nobody separating themselves. Everybody thought Colorado was going to be the team, right? That was going to come screaming out of the West. Colorado's a little vulnerable right now because Philip Grubauer is a good goalie. He isn't a franchise goalie. I'm just going to come right out and say it. He's the one, he needs to be a 1-2 goalie. And by that I mean, like what Boston has with Tuukka Rask and Jarl Halak, that's what Colorado needs to do.
Every other night, yeah.
Now, does Pavel Francouz, their backup, end up being that guy? I don't know. But I would expect to see them try to go out and get a veteran goalie for the playoff run. If they can do that, Colorado could very well make some noise because they do have the talent up front. They do have the talent on the blue line. So that remains to be seen. But insofar as the two teams go, I very much so believe that St. Louis will make it out of the West. Mm-hmm. I just think they're that far ahead of everybody else on the pile. Yeah. Boston, I don't think so. As talented as that team is and as good as they are, like I just said, they got a lot more competition, for one thing.
Tampa's coming.
Tampa, Washington, no pushover. Even your Penguins. I mean, I don't know how they're doing this, but it's happening somehow.
Somebody knows.
But you got to remember, too, Boston has played a ton of hockey over the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. You've had several deep playoff runs, and my concern with Boston, as it's been all year long, is their depth. If you can shut down the Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak line, and good luck doing that, but if you can, where is anything else coming from?
Yeah, you're right.
And this is a team that can never seem to avoid the injury bug, so if they get an untimely injury again, there's several moving parts with the Bruins right now, and any one of them could be easily derailed. So, I mean, it's like I said, don't get me wrong, Bruins fans, they're a great team. Like I said, I got a feeling that come playoff time, they're going to be a little worn down from all the hockey they've played over the past several years, and the competition, I'm sorry, is better in the Eastern Conference right now than it is in the West.
They don't like that. Bobby Seward's protesting in the streets right now. Yosh, what do you think?
It's just, I'm going to go with it probably won't happen just because, I mean, how rare it is for it to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and once the playoffs start, it's almost like it's a whole new season, Everybody starts clean slate, back at zero, and there's a lot less competition. And a lot better competition. So, I mean, could St. Louis make a run? I think St. Louis could make a run, but I'm going to have to agree with Scott. And the biggest thing you got to watch with Boston, too, is the age. I mean, you've got 44-year-old, now I can't remember his name, of course.
Zdeno Chara
out there still captaining the team. And, I mean, how much does he have left in him,
It's funny, as I was looking, there's a website I'm always on, the Power Rankings Guru, I think it's called. And they were showing everybody's strength of schedule and what is ahead. Kind of going back a little bit on what you had said there, Scott, about Colorado. Colorado, honestly, if you look, they played the hardest schedule so far. And looking forward, they have the softest schedule projected. I mean, everything's relative. But, they are projected to have one of the softest schedules, followed by the Panthers, the Capitals, and the Lightning. So kind of going with that Bruins theme, how they could possibly fall out there.
But you know what, though? I don't put a lot of faith in strength of schedule because it changes so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how can you possibly predict the remaining strength of schedule when you got teams that go on runs, right? And if to say like Detroit's got a horrible strength of schedule, well, everybody is horrible to Detroit.
I think, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's relative.
I mean, that's kind of, to me, that it's like individual plus minus. It's useful, but it's not the end-all, be-all.
Okay, I can see
I mean, if a team's got a bad strength of schedule coming up, don't write them off.
Oh, no.
Because,
no.
I mean, yeah, the Lightning have won 10 in a row, but by the time this team that's got the Lightning coming up, they could be in the middle of a 3 or 4 game losing streak, too. It happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's useful, but it's, to me, it's kind of a...
Yeah, when you're 11 and 30, every team is better than you.
They're all tough. If we're talking, obviously, about Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
I mean, if you think of it this way, if you'd have done the strength of schedule 6 weeks ago and a team had the Lightning coming up a lot, what do you think their strength of schedule would have looked like?
I'll tell you what, man. I just I look at the odds, and I don't really like the Bruins' chances either. I
just and you know that they have a lot of that division is good to begin with, so they're still going to have a lot of division games left. And like I said, the competition is just that much better in the Eastern Conference this year. Yeah. And I'll say that as a Western Conference fan. I mean, it's the truth. You know, you can't sugarcoat it.
Boston is basically one bad injury away from toppling.
Yeah,
honestly, and that, in my opinion, I mean, if something happens to Rask or if something happens to Marchand or Pasternak, I mean, there goes your top scoring and the whole team.
Right.
Yeah, short term they can handle, but I mean, anything more than a 2 or 3 week injury, they're done.
You know, I'm looking at our list of things we got to talk about today. We got so much. There's so much left. How are we going to fit this all in? Anyway, let's do our first break. I know we spent a little too much time.
I know why you're saying that, because I'm watching your eyes and you keep looking over at the Rickies.
I'm like, they're going to eat them all. What are they doing? Hey, look at that.
Oh, what a guy.
Travis, look at this.
What a guy.
Huh? Can you see that? Travis is good people, man. And yeah, now I have Ricky. So let's take that break. We're going to knock this down real quick. When we come back, we got to talk a little bit about Penguins, who, like you said.
Oh, I know you've been dying to do that.
Well, I wanted to do it especially because Travis is here, and I know how much he loves Crosby. I know he loves him.
You know, you weren't looking when he put that plate of Rickies together.
Did you bring your nurse outfit with you?
No. And what else are we talking about? We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. God, let's take our break, and we'll come back in a minute and see how.
Breakaway trivia?
Oh, yeah. Let's do our trivia. Scott, what do you got?
All right. So let's forego the song and all that this week. All right. So breakaway trivia. You guys know the rules. You got to score, answer my question correctly, right? So my question this week is, Pecorine last week scored a goal against Chicago. What I want to know is, who is the first NHL goalie to be credited with scoring a goal? The answer when we come back.
Got to be the obvious. And we're back. If you guys could have seen what was going on during that break, literally all three of us are piling food in our mouths as fast as possible, forgetting to do everything over here. Oh, yeah. Scott, what do you got for an answer on that?
All right, so breakaway trivia. The question was, who is the first NHL goaltender to be credited with scoring a goal? Any guesses?
No,
I'm going to go with Hextall, and I know it's wrong.
Yeah, I said Hextall, and I don't think that's right either.
Okay, the first NHL goaltender to be credited with scoring a goal was the Islanders' Billy Smith.
That's it.
Really?
November 28th, 1979, they were playing against the Colorado Rockies, who would soon become the New Jersey Devils after this. What happened was there was a delayed penalty called, and it was going against the Islanders, so the Rockies pulled their goaltender to get the extra skater out on the ice.
Yep.
Billy Smith made a save. Puck goes over to the corner. Rob Ramage from the Colorado Rockies turns around to make a pass back to the point while there was nobody there. Puck goes sailing into the Colorado net, but since Billy Smith was the last one to touch the puck, he was credited with the goal.
Wow. I'll tell you what, man. Billy Smith used to be incredible, man.
Yeah, he was. He was a great goalie. Just don't go near his crease.
I was going to say dirty, but right? Wasn't he the one that took out Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, pretty much.
Used to with the.
It was like a sword.
Yeah,
I used to love him actually. Didn't know he was the first though, man. And you said something else I didn't realize. I knew Hextall scored two goals, and then you said Brodeur scored 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
got 3. That. Even Chris Osgood scored a goal.
The goals coming out from all over the place. Craziness. So I specifically wanted to talk about this, like I said, because our friend Travis is here in the studio today, and that's the Penguins. And he's flipping me off over the side. Hey, Travis, did you know that Sidney Crosby is expected to come back this week from hernia surgery?
Oh my God, Sidney Crosby was injured? Who'd have guessed?
He is, man. That's it's a procedure, obviously, that's kept him off the ice since November 9th. And I guess, like you were saying, it's a little bit of a strange ride that team has been on for since that time, pretty much all season, to be honest with you. But I think to fully understand, the ride they've been on, you almost have to kind of take a look back there. Going back to November 9th, the Pens were 10-6-1 then, and they were looking at a train wreck without Crosby because obviously coming back into the rotation was Malkin, Rust, and Galchenyuk, who we not even talking about, and what a waste that was. And also, in addition to that, Letang, Hornquist, Schultz, and Bukestad were all out of the lineup also. Obviously, as we know, Matt Murray is kind of a turnstile lately. I don't even know what happened.
Persona non grata.
And the magical honeypot that is Wilkes-Barre was kind of running a little short of talent to send up too. So I know at that time they said that Sid's recovery would take about minimum of 6 weeks. I call him Sid because I know him. He's personally a friend of mine.
Are you going to bring him Riggies too?
Yeah. Hopefully, I want Travis to do it. But as of today, I was looking at this, and they're going into their 10th week without him, and it's something like their 28th game not having him on the ice, which is obviously a lot longer than I think they were ever anticipating. Obviously, during that time, they continue to be plagued by injuries. Jake Gensel. And they are. I think they are the league leader in man games lost. Yeah. Just a disaster of a season, really. Like if you look at that on paper, they should probably be right alongside Detroit. And honestly, when they with all this going on, they've gone 17-6-4, leapfrogging the Isles and landing in second place in the Metro. They're actually, I believe, 61 points. Just behind the three teams I mentioned before, which is Washington and obviously Boston and St. Louis. And so 2 questions for you guys. First, how have they done this all season? How have they kept it competitive through all of this?
Well, you know the claw machine that you see like at stores where you got to use the controller and you got to drop the claw down?
Yeah.
All right. Now, most people aren't very good at it.
Right.
Like for me, every time I go in the store with my daughter and she sees one, I end up spending $10 trying to get something stupid out of the machine, and I always epically fail.
Yeah.
The Penguins are the kid that comes in next and gets it like 5 times in a row. Bing, bing, bing. That's them. They're good at the claw machine.
Master of the claw machine.
Okay? Because they always seem to manage to pull something out of nothing. Excuse me. So it has been quite incredible. They're doing this without Crosby. Mm-hmm. Is Tristan Jarry this good? Is he? I mean,
you want me to answer that? No.
What I'm trying to say is, I mean, how is it that every time these people just come out of nowhere, right? Jared McCann.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's an all-star left winger, right? Marino. All of a sudden, he's an all-star defenseman.
Right.
So is it just a matter of everybody meshing at the right time? Maybe, but it makes them that much more dangerous when everybody comes back.
Yeah.
I would be kind of leery, though, just because the Penguins are famous for this, right? And it's usually right around this time of year. They'll go on this incredible 6-week run, regardless of who's on the team. We could be on the team, and that we would win every game for 6 weeks in a row.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, usually right around February, March, the bottom falls out. Then they can't get out of their own way. And then usually by the end of March, going into April, they get hot again. So this is kind of like the Penguin trend. And I don't know, it's weird, but look it up. I'm telling you.
No, you're right.
True.
You're absolutely right.
So, I mean, it's only good that Sidney Crosby's coming back. What's going to happen when Geno Malkin gets hurt again? Because you know what's going to happen. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to jinx you.
It's tradition.
But, got any bucks for Thomas for that one.
Who knew that they would be this good without Crosby? I mean, they played plenty without Malkin, but so I just think a lot of it's got to go to Sullivan, their coach, Mike Sullivan.
I agree.
This is really all his masterwork. I mean, this has been phenomenal.
And it's funny that if you go on any websites or anything like that, there's still people calling for his job, and I never understood that.
Yeah, you think maybe you're setting the bar a little high there.
How do you fire a guy? That just brought you 2 cups.
Yeah,
I mean.
Now, what I'm going to be kind of interested to see is with the trade deadline coming up, your GM, Jim Rutherford, loves to make trades.
Right.
So is he going to pull the wrong trigger this time and maybe trade away the wrong guy or what? But as it stands right now, ride the wave, ride it, and I'm just going to go right on the record and say I do see them going into a funk in February because that's usually what they do, and then it'll all shake out from there.
Yosh, what do you think?
Well, to reference Scott's claw machine, reference there. Yep. Those are also like notoriously rigged.
Oh, you mean like draft lotteries are for the Penguins?
Yeah,
no way.
Like,
Oh God.
Gee, who's always fluffing Crosby? NBC, and who carries the NHL?
Are you saying that the NBC is a claw machine?
The NBC is a claw machine. And you can tell, like, not to get off on a sidebar here, but you can tell that the guys on NBC don't watch any other teams but the Penguins.
I know, right?
Because the Rangers game was on NBC last week,
yeah.
and they couldn't pronounce any of the players' names.
It is amazing though that they've been able to do what they have.
There's no doubt.
With some of these guys. I mean,
Well, I think
it's on that line, all of a sudden he's scoring. Like, what is going on here?
I think you can thank your coaching staff down in Wilkes-Barre too for really helping these guys out. I mean, and just looking back at the AHL standings, I mean, Wilkes-Barre didn't even make the playoffs last year, so I mean, to be able to have those guys come up and fill the spots.
That's what I was going to say. That's because they're all in the NHL now.
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what, too? We did have a debate about that last year. Mm-hmm. Whereas, if they're great in the AHL, if the team's great in the AHL, well, that just means that's the future's guaranteed for the NHL team.
Well,
no, that's never the case.
I mean, how many guys, you got to figure how many guys on an AHL team are just on AHL contracts.
Correct.
That never get old AHL vets that will never get a call up unless the big club decides to sign them to a 1 year.
Right. And that's exactly the point.
It's funny too, because as I was looking back on some of our conversations, after Phil the Thrill left Pittsburgh there, everybody pretty much thought that this would be a team that was going into rebuild mode. And I don't necessarily know if that's...
And what's Phil been doing in Arizona?
Obviously, I know, but it's
a lot of nothing,
right?
Even with getting Taylor Hall down there, it's that team.
I know that just doesn't seem to be working out.
No, I mean he was hot the first couple games, but
yeah.
Can we trade back for Galchenyuk? And dude, that whole experiment is just all wrong.
You think maybe Galchenyuk has just been overrated his entire career.
He has, and I think he's been definitely sent out in the wrong kind of light. He was great when he was with Montreal, and being utilized correctly. And I just don't think any other team he's been on has been right for him.
I think with Crosby out and Malkin moving up to that line, and everybody else going out, and him having a chance to come and improve himself, and he's done nothing with any of that opportunity.
No. The biggest question here is how long do you think it's going to be before Crosby goes back out?
No, you can't. You're going to jinx the team.
Crosby, darn!
You got to take that T-shirt up. You're going to make the band split up. Yeah, man.
I mean, it just. I almost feel bad for the Penguins this season because they're stringing together wins. So I guess I can't feel that bad for them. But it's just like week after week, it's just now this guy's hurt, and now this guy's hurt, and now this guy's hurt. And you've got your ECHL club now in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like Scott says, it is like clockwork for them to fall apart in February and March. So
and then come back.
By the way, what's the Penguins' strength of schedule?
It was actually pretty easy. I was looking at that.
Oh no, I think it was pretty bad. Actually, let me see. Hold on.
It was in the green.
Was it in the green?
Yeah.
They are 23rd. Yeah, they have the actually. So what would that be? The 12th easiest?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is green.
I mean, with the Metro too, you got to remember there's like a few really really good teams, and then it's like dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going again, like we said, this is not the be all end all, but going ahead of that is the Avalanche are projected to have the number one. Panthers, Capitals, Lightning, Flames, Blues, Blackhawks, Bruins, Penguins. So maybe there's good things on the horizon. They won't fall apart in a month.
Hey, you know what though? We'll give you this for now because I know you've been dying to get this in, so
Yeah.
get it in now before February gets here. That's a good idea, real good idea, Rich.
Well, I did want to bring this in because again, I know that Travis loves the Penguins.
Favorite team.
Yeah. wasn't Travis the one who bought the? Yeah, it was you. It bought the Jack Daniels bottle and had it engraved. That said like what Penguins suck on the back. That was his whiskey bottle.
That's also forever at the Utica Odd.
Yeah, he signed the wall saying Penguins suck.
I will say, if you've ever been to Rich's garage bar and you walk in there, you would probably think that he is probably Sid's best friend,
That I work for the team,
or that he works for the team, or that he might have a serious problem that he needs to talk to somebody about. Nobody should like Crosby this much.
You know, one thing I did notice is obviously before we take our other break here, Matt Murray starting to work him back in a little bit.
Well, you're going to have to.
Yeah,
You're going to have to. I mean, you ride the Tristan Jarry hot hand as long as you can, but when it comes right down to it, the nuts and bolts of the whole thing is Matt Murray is going to be your goaltender come playoff time.
Right.
You go with the guy who's got the experience, and somehow you got to get him going. Do you do it at the expense of your winning streak right now? You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And you might as well do it while the team's playing well.
Yeah.
Because if they go into their swan dive in February and Murray still hasn't figured it out yet, now you just made that task monumentally harder.
Yep.
Well, you figure too over the last 3 seasons, he's played a lot of hockey.
Yes and no, because he had Fleury to carry him through the Cups.
He played most of those games.
He did. And actually, that was the one thing I wanted to. That one year that they won the cup, I think Matt Murray should have gotten MVP
Oh, there's no doubt.
because he was.
Well, they had no choice but to give it to Crosby, though.
Yeah.
You knew there was a bat phone on fire from Bettman on that one.
Remember?
Don't you even think about giving that contract.
Remember the claw game reference?
The clock of down. Is that the bat phone ringing? Oh my lord!
Mike Milbury's on the phone, guys. He says Crosby's got to get the MVP.
He don't like him, but he's got to get it. All right, let's take our other break here, and I guess when we come back, we're going to talk about the Detroit Red Wings and what do we do with that team, man. I'm going to ask you guys specifically because you're going to play GM for this last round. Tell me what you guys would do.
Oh, boy. This won't take long, folks. Don't worry.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back once again. I tell you what, man, just like everything, that break comes in, we're all. I can't wait. It's the first time I got to be honest. I can't wait to get off the show and go over there and eat. It's just taunting me. They have a plate of food.
And you won't have to stop at Big Donald's today.
Oh, I know. They won't know what to do. They're like, whoa, where's our guy?
Uh-oh.
Monday, right?
Is he okay?
Where's
All of a sudden, a missing persons report goes out for Rich.
Ronald McDonald filed a missing person report. Where's
Detective Grimace is on it.
We had his 2 quarter pounders ready to go. Come on. He always comes in at 12:15.
They'll bill you.
Okay, so Detroit Red Wings. And I know you guys were looking forward to this one. Just like I said, just toss a match in. Right now, obviously the worst team in the NHL. Their record is 12-31-3 after last night. That's pretty good.
Yes.
Good for they're now the owner.
Far and away last place in the NHL.
Yeah, owners of a paltry 27 points. Man, is what they have, and lo and behold, if you look, like I said, they have one of the toughest schedules coming up, which is just like we say, man. When it rains, it pours, and right now the Detroit Red Wings are getting pissed on. Is really what's going on. Yeah. So I mean, let's be honest. Everybody knew this was going to be the way. I think even the experts were predicting they were going to have like a very dismal season.
Yeah,
everybody was calling them. They're a lottery team. We knew it was going to be.
Yeah,
but kind of like I was saying before, I'm going to have you guys play GM and work a miracle here because I want to know what you guys would do with this team. There's a lot of things. I gave you guys a list of some of the prospects that I have kind of been in the talkings here, and I just want to see what you guys would do with this. And because I'll be the first to know, I don't know. Aside from like a can of gas in a match, I probably would just.
Well, if you're Steve Yzerman, you basically send a letter out to the season ticket holders and the Detroit media saying, hey, listen, I just want you to know we're going to be terrible for the next few years, so don't expect anything out of us.
Yeah, like the Rangers.
Tanking it.
I mean, yeah, but the Rangers were like, we got a plan. We're going to be good in a year or two.
Yeah.
This is going to take more than a year or two to
Long time,
fix.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is really, really bad. And the worst part for Detroit is they don't really have anybody they can trade off to get any kind of tangible draft picks. You know, I'm just looking at capfriendly.com right now, and the only ones I really see are possibly Mike Green, if he can possibly try to stay healthy for the rest of the season, because he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. He may be a help for a contender, especially with their power play going down the road. Mm-hmm. So he maybe get you a mid-round draft pick. Same thing for Jimmy Howard if you're looking to, you know, boost a team like Colorado.
Yep.
Now, could you imagine Detroit and Colorado making a trade, right? If you were a hockey fan back in the 90s, you would have never thought that. But somebody like Colorado, who's maybe looking for a veteran goaltender to try to kind of, you know, take the load off Grubauer a little bit. But again, they're not going to get anything really significant. I mean, they'd be lucky if they got a third or fourth rounder for him. You know, they got Franz Nielsen would actually be nice for a team to bolster their bottom six. The problem with Franz Nielsen is he's making over $5 million a year for the next 3 years, and he's 35 years old. So that contract's killing them. I mean, there. Other than that, there's nothing. There's nothing that's going to get you anything significant. So you really have just got to bite the bullet on this one. Say, we're going to be collecting high draft picks for the next at least 2 to 3 years. And they got to try to, they're hamstrung on cap space too.
Yeah.
For as many contracts that they're not going to get anything for, they're all high dollar contracts. Mm-hmm. You know, so to say that there's going to be a quick fix in Detroit, sorry, it's not happening.
It's ride the dumpster fire for
going to have to.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just no easy way around it. I mean, this team needs help in every facet. You know, there's some teams that are bad, but you're like, okay, well, they got a good young forward group, so they got that to build on, or they got a good young defensive core, or whatever. Like kind of like what Colorado did, right?
Yep.
But Colorado was able to move their assets to get big time draft picks.
Yep.
And now look how that panned out. Detroit can't. They're not going to get a first rounder even remotely close to a first or even a second rounder for anything they've got, even if they do retain salary, which they're really not going to be able to anyway. So I almost feel bad for Steve Yzerman in that regard, where he inherited a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, a dumpster fire. So we'll see what the hockey gods do around draft time, because if they don't end up with the number one pick, I mean, but this draft coming up is very deep. They're going to get a very good player regardless, which is, you know, obviously is what they need. But I don't. There is no quick answer for the Detroit Red Wings. Sorry, Red Wings fans, but you got a nice arena to enjoy the misery in anyway.
Have fun.
You know?
Looks nice. Yosh, what do you see?
You can't count out Steve Yzerman. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the team he built down in Tampa, and he was able to make moves. And maybe it was, you know, just being a Rangers fan, he took every captain we had.
That is true.
But it's going to take time for Detroit to get anywhere, and I can see the pain, especially with Detroit fans going, why? Because their AHL team, the Grand Rapids Griffins, they're 3 years removed from winning the Calder Cup, and they're like, well, what happened to all the guys we got there? And it's like Scott mentioned earlier, you can't. Just because the AHL team has a good season doesn't mean the future is necessarily bright, because not all those guys are on, you know, NHL contracts. They got to try to move something. They got to just to maybe kind of clear out that cap space. They're not going to get much of a return. Maybe some lower end draft picks, and maybe a team like Colorado will pick up Jimmy Howard just for their playoff run, you know, just to have some veteran presence. But
you know where else he'd be a good fit is Vegas.
Yeah, but
Vegas or Toronto. But the problem with Vegas and Toronto, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all right.
You know me, I got to open my mouth as soon as it comes into my head, or I'm going to forget it. But the problem with Vegas and Toronto, they're both buttered up against the cap.
Yeah, and how much good hockey does Jimmy Howard have left in him?
Right.
I mean, even to play backup somewhere, can you really guarantee on him to help you pull out a win? I just don't. I don't know with that. It's going to take a long time for Detroit. It's a long, bumpy road for them. But I mean, I could see him coming back eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And within the decade, you know, maybe by 2030 they'll have a playoff team
It's just it's amazing when you look at that, and they were so successful
for such
so
a long time. Yeah,
you know.
and then
But that's what happens in the salary cap era.
Yeah,
You eventually have to pay for that success.
got to pay the piper.
That's right.
but like I said, I would definitely not count out Yzerman. He's a magician sometimes.
Yeah,
Working that GM chair. So
we'll see. Anyways, I'm telling you, I told you at the beginning.
you won't stop. You're not even You didn't look at us the whole show. You've been looking at the Riggies, and I can see the drool. Just there you go. You got it. You're good.
The food. It's making fun of me. I got to go deal with this. So, yeah, you know what I was actually wondering? So maybe next week, I think we might take a week off, just because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on outside of this show.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so 2 weeks, guys, we'll be back with you, and yeah, I guess until then. By the time we come back, I think we'll be able to talk about the All-Star game.
Hey, there you go.
And those god-awful jerseys.
Oh, they're so
Man, that's terrible, isn't it?
And last year's were really cool. Like the black ones, they were all blacked out. The logos were blacked out. They were pretty sweet looking. And then I saw the post for this year's, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, what happened? We got to remember to put a picture of those up on our page.
Yeah.
Just so we can make everybody nauseous. They're bad. They're real bad.
I just wish they'd go back to Eastern Conference versus Western Conference.
I do too.
I just this division thing has just kind of run its course for me, and I mean, even if they want to keep it at 3-on-3, fine, because it's the All-Star game. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right. But you know how you do this. You have the All-Star game be your 3-on-3 and all that, because people always get bent out of shape about, well, this one got snubbed, that one got snubbed. All right, fine. So at the end of the season, you have your All-Pro team, kind of like what football does.
Yeah.
So that everybody gets their recognition, right? So you got your first line All-Star, your second line All-Star, your third line All-Star, and your fourth line All-Star, right? I mean, at least guys would get more recognition anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, the All-Star game is what it is. It's just it's more time we got to spend without hockey is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But
It is. It is.
interestingly enough, there is going to be a women's game for
Yeah, you're
All-Star
saying that.
weekend. It's going to be the January 24th, they said, which is a Friday night, I believe. It's going to be a 3-on-3 format. It's going to be made up of the women from the Women's Hockey Union. It's the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, I think it's called. They're the ones that are actually boycotting the way that it's set up right now with the NWHL and the CWHL, because they had the two competing leagues there, and they're both pretty much since folded. But they're going to take players from that group, and they're going to actually have a women's All-Star game. And I'm going to actually tune in, because that I think is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good move by the NHL, because it'll give them the exposure that they need as far as presenting their game.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Right? And I think, I said it before and I'll say it again, I think the NHL is really dropping the ball by not trying to push this a little bit harder. Really.
Well, and they do that whole hockey is for everyone.
Exactly.
And
They don't push
they
it.
always snub the women. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get it, you know?
The NHL's notorious for
Well, that's true.
for bad moves.
That's very true, and especially since now, like, this seems to be the trend in the AHL is to put your AHL the NHL is to put their AHL team in their own city. So why not take the cities that don't have AHL teams anymore and put the women's hockey teams there?
Right.
Grow the game. Hashtag grow the game. Sorry,
Hashtag growth.
Oh wait, do we have
the hashtag?
Do we have a hashtag here?
It's hashtag grow the game. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, but we never had one on the show here.
Oh, you know,
This might be the first time any of us have ever mentioned a hashtag on this show.
I think we need a hashtag.
Hashtag.
That's our That's our homework for the next 2 weeks.
Come up with some hashtags.
We got to think.
All right, I got one. Hashtag Penguin ZR.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
On that note, those Riggies are calling me. So, and I want to thank Travis. Obviously, thank you, man, for stopping in and delivering that fine food that we're about to dive right into. It's going to be very good. So that's it. 2 weeks, yes?
2 weeks of work.
2 weeks.
Okay, very cool. So for Yoshi, for Scott, for Travis sitting over there, I'm Rich Masucci. Enjoy the games, and yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep. Later.
See ya.
Cheers.